We're diving into one of the most jaw dropping cases to ever hit West Virginia, the trial of Natalie Cochran, who stands accused of orchestrating a Ponzi scheme, faking cancer, and ultimately murdering her husband Michael to cover her tracks. Prosecutors claim that Natalie Cochran intentionally overdosed her husband Michael, ensuring he would not blow the whistle on her financial crimes. I'm attending the trial in person in West Virginia, and then I'm going live every night at 7 p.m. Eastern to unpack the twists and the turns of what happened during the day at trial. But today, we've got something really special. I had the chance to sit down with Jessica Farrish. She's a reporter with 59 News, the CBS and Fox affiliate here in West Virginia. Jessica was on this story from the very beginning in 2019, long before there was even a case. She was the first to uncover the truth, starting with what seemed relatively small allegations that Natalie stole from the local Little League where she served as treasurer. It set off a chain of events that ultimately and eventually led to the shocking murder charges against Natalie that are going on now. Jessica was working in print journalism when she became the go to reporter on this case. She then transitioned into TV reporting, and clearly it's been a wild ride ever since. Fun fact, Jessica's mom, Rita, is a longtime listener to the channel. So big shout out to Rita. Now let's jump into the interview with Jessica Farrish and get the inside scoop on this unbelievable case and how it all began.
I first learned about this case probably back in 2019, and this was before Michael had died. I worked at a local newspaper, the Register Herald, and we kept getting calls from folks who were just telling us, hey, there are cop cars, now the FBI's here, there are state troopers at this house on 4-H Lake Road, what's going on? And we also had calls from a Little League in Shady Springs saying that there was missing money and that there was a lot of fighting. They said that the Cochrans had actually had some of the team members arrested. And it was a very chaotic and curious situation. But what can you do with that as a reporter? These are not facts, these are just rumors. And then we did verify that there was an FBI investigation and a state police investigation into a Ponzi scheme. So not long after that, we were tipped off that Natalie Cochran was going to be arrested for the Ponzi scheme, and her husband by this time had passed. Her husband, unfortunately, had passed away. So we did have one of our photographers, Rick Barbero, at her arrest after being tipped off, and we confirmed, yeah, that was correct. She was arrested, and it just blew up from there. Mainly at that time, you were dealing with the Ponzi scheme, and it was coming out that they had Cobras, lots of nice jewelry, taking nice trips. They had a beautiful home, and that most of this had been obtained by fleecing moms and dads and people in your community, people who trusted you. So that was how the case first came out. It was the Ponzi scheme.
And it's amazing. It started really with the Little League and it moved upward, I guess. From there, it got worse and worse from that point.
I think that maybe there had been so much tension generated. My opinion was there was so much tension with so many people generated with the feelings about this children's sports league that they were paying particular attention to anything that went on with Natalie and Michael. And so they were more likely to reach out to media, to call when they started seeing the police cars, and they were more likely to share stories and just to talk about it because they felt vindicated. There were people who talked about feeling maybe vindicated, or someone was saying, hey, you're not a bad person. Look, she's the bad person when she was arrested.
What was the result about the baseball thing? Did anything come out of the investigation? Was she charged?
No, there was a forensic investigation conducted by a private investigator. And he said he actually gave of course it's not an official report, but he broke down the spending, and it looked as if though she was taking money from the Little League to pay off something over here. Then she would move money over here back to the Little League. People also, of course, pointed out that there were, I don't know if you were aware of this, but we also had heard that some of the fundraisers involved guns. There were guns, bingo for guns at elementary or middle schools, high schools. And I know some people were a little shocked by that.
Yes.
But I think the fact that they, in my personal opinion, they talked about how they decided to use guns. Michael was a big military fan and a fan of guns, and Natalie wasn't. If you were in Southern West Virginia and you wanted to get money, someone's money, the way to do it would be to use guns. And to say we're providing guns to the U.S. military. I know one of the investors said that she had been told they were actually helping build a wall in Mexico, that they were one of the contractors with that. That was stated, I believe, at her sentencing hearing, or maybe the plea hearing in federal court.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I think that there was an appeal to really things within the Southern West Virginia culture and in that rural culture to convince people to give their money.
Why do you think it happened all of a sudden? I find this mystifying. Just a law-abiding couple, never done anything wrong, and suddenly all of this.
And very nice families, both of them. I've met their families, very nice, upstanding, kind, good, civic-minded, wonderful people. And I don't know the answer to that either. And I think even their family members don't really know the answer to that. Members of Natalie's family question, why did it happen? They were as shocked as anybody.
Right. You mentioned the baseball team, that there was a rumor that people had been arrested at the request of the Cochrans. Did that ever pan out, or was that just a rumor?
I'm going to go back to what the guy from Bank America said. I don't know, but I've got a pretty damn good guess.
Okay. All right.
All right. It appears that there was a state trooper called at the request of the Cochrans, and there was a mother that they had told, you can't be here. And she was escorted and humiliated, of course, from the stands by a state trooper. And she says that there was no reason for that, that it was just their arbitrary decision. We want you out of here. We don't want you. And fighting over the league, and the state police escorted her because of that fight that she had, or those arguments that she had from the stand. And of course her kids playing, it was really an embarrassing thing for her, from what she said.
There were also some vague references to the volleyball team. Was it the same deal? What was that about?
I'm not sure about the volleyball team. I think that mostly what I heard, I believe, would have been the football, or the Little League. I can send you a link to an article that explains the funding that we came up with at the Register Herald when I worked at the newspaper.
Yeah, I saw your article was very detailed. It was really impressive. So what about the fake cancer? Is that a thing? There was reference in the federal sentencing hearing, and the judge talked about it and seemed to take it as fact. And yet I haven't heard that mentioned in the trial. Everybody talks about her saying she had cancer, but I haven't heard any witness testify that she was faking it.
I'm on the same level you are with that. We heard from family. I've heard from people connected with Natalie that she lied about the cancer. Natalie had told me, I had interviewed Natalie back in, I'm going to say 2019, or maybe 2020 was when I interviewed her. And she said she didn't kill her husband. She said at that time she didn't kill him. And she said that she was sick, that she had been ill, and that he had also been ill. So I'm where you are. We've heard from other people that she was faking the cancer. She herself said that she had been ill, and it had been a rare form of cancer.
So on the Ponzi scheme, did anybody actually get paid back? Because part of a Ponzi scheme is you take the new money and you give it to the old money so that they get reimbursed and go out and talk about how great your company is and how great your product is. But did anybody get paid back, or was it just all taken?
I know that she was ordered to pay it back as part of her sentencing. I don't know if all of it was taken, and I don't know how much of it has been paid back, or if any of it's been paid back. And those stories were so heartbreaking with the Ponzi scheme. And
they were.
What I think really, the father who had invested all of that money as a way of taking care of his continually ill daughter when he was gone, that was heartbreaking. Or the mom who invested because her son was sick and she wanted a way to be able to be home with him, to provide care for him. And then the life savings of Michael Cochran's stepdad and his mother, that was heartbreaking, to knowing that how long they had worked and that now their money was gone. And I think listening to those stories, a lot of people felt pretty angry. And also I think just the religious part of it. I always thought it was odd to drive and see the Bible verses on billboards with advertising the guns on one of those companies. There was a billboard and you had guns. And there was
I didn't know about that. That is wild.
I'll show you.
Okay.
The pointer where it is.
Okay.
If it's still up. And that was so odd. It was just so out of the blue. Like, what do you do with that? And then the fact that she also used Bible verses, what we heard at the Ponzi sentencing hearing from the victim investors, we heard that she would often text them Bible verses as encouragement for these problems they had in their lives, all the while taking their money. And that, I thought it was interesting how religion played into this as well.
That is interesting. Disturbing, really.
Very disturbing.
Yeah.
That something that most of us cherish and that we hold to be so pure was used as weapon.
A huge thank you to Jessica Farrish of 59 News for sitting down with us and unraveling the twists and turns that led to this unbelievable Byzantine case. She's given us a front row seat to the chaos that ultimately led to the trial we're watching right now, the trial of Natalie Cochran. Now, trust me, you don't want to miss a single detail as this story continues to unfold. If you haven't been following the trial so far, now's your chance. In just a minute, I'll put a link on the screen to the full Natalie Cochran playlist. You can watch all the shocking revelations, the jaw-dropping updates so far, and you can start up with us next week. I'm Lawyer Lee. My passion is using my Harvard Law degree and 30 years of trial experience to break down the high-profile cases that everyone's talking about and to make them easy to understand. We will dive into the details tomorrow. Make sure you join me tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern for live coverage. I will see you then.